Hello and welcome back to the shop. Today we have another dead Fluke meter that we got that doesn't work. Don't need those right now. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this thing apart and we're going to see if we can figure out why. I don't know anything about this other than it belonged to somebody at some point. I got this really cheap from somebody else. They were getting rid of it, and I figured I would give it a go. I don't know, we might find batteries growing in it, and if we could clean them up, maybe we'll get it working. Maybe we'll find a blown fuse or a completely destroyed circuit board, and this will be a parts meter. Let's dig in and see what we can find. So to start tearing this thing apart, we're going to use a new number 2 Phillips channel lock screwdriver. The tip on these fits very well. In fact, so well you can see it just stands. I really like that about these. These are pretty high quality screwdrivers that really work well. So something about this older line of meters compared to the newer ones have a battery door. This isn't a series 3 or 5 or any of that. This is the older series. I didn't have any in this series and I kind of wanted to play around with one. So here we are. Looks like they had a seal that is previously broken. So somebody's been in here. Okay, so we used a little flathead screwdriver and started to get this thing to move. It is not happy about coming apart. There we go. Okay, so there's a 9-volt in it. The 9-volt isn't super old. But first things first, we will try a new ProCell battery for this. This is a Duracell line that is kind of like a low power draw type thing. They are kind of desirable for meters like this because the meter does not have a high current draw. Okay, so let's see. Oh, just a dead battery? I'll take that. So that's nice. So it looks like we got ourselves a decent meter here. Let's get it all back together and see if we can test some of its functions. It does feel like it clips together a little bit. Now you've heard me say a bunch of times, anytime you start a screw in plastic to go backwards with it until you hear it pop like that, and then you know you're in the old threads, which is always very good because if you cut new threads every time you run a screw into plastic, you run the risk of stripping out your tool's screws. So now we'll enter in our case again. Get that back on there. Starts looking like a Fluke meter again as soon as you get that case on there. Now, first thing we're going to do is test our leads with another meter, because I don't know anything about this meter. I guess the first thing we'll do is get rid of this battery. Always tape up your old 9-volters, even if there's any voltage in them. If you tape up your old batteries, you don't run the risk of setting a fire in your trash. So, to help test out our Fluke 83, we're going to test our leads first with our Fluke 233. And to do that, we're just going to jam a lead against that prong. And jam a lead against that prong. And we know that we're probably good enough to continue playing around with this thing. Now we're not going to go too far with our Fluke 233 because we're going to need it to compare. So voltage, and common. Now another way we could test both leads at the exact same time is go right to continuity and test with that meter. I think these leads are a little dirty. They may be cutting in and out intermittently. If you notice, the black one here has done some welding in the past. But it could be some dirty connections. Okay, so truth be told, I just took this across and cleaned it on something, nothing overly abrasive, just a Scotch pad, and I turned it this way. I did not go lengthwise with it. And we're getting a little bit better connection on our leads. I'm probably going to buy new leads for this meter anyway, but for now, for testing, I think we're good to go. Okay, so there's a few ways we can test this thing, but we're going to start with DC voltage. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to take our DC power supply and we're going to take it all the way down to 1 volt, and we're going to turn it on and see what we get. Okay, so both meters are seeing the same thing. We're going to go to 2. Pretty close. 3. Still pretty close. 4. Now this one should be changing scales soon. 5. 6. 7. This one just changed scales. 8. 9. 10. 11. 12. 13. 14. 15. 16. You can see that the refresh rate's very similar in both these meters. They're agreeing pretty good all the way up through here. Okay, so there we are. We're up to our 36 volt power supply's cap. Both meters read basically the same thing, so that's a win. Okay, so I don't have the Variac readily available right now, but we can just plug it into power from the wall. And here we are plugged into the old shop extension cord, and both meters pretty much agree. So I don't think I see any problems there. We have both meters on AC and both of them seeing about 119.9 volts. Okay, so we have a meter testing rig up here. I found that I cannot have both meters plugged in at the same time, probably because the way the ohm meter is working, it doesn't work out the best. But here we go. We have our Fluke 87 hooked up to 100K. Each one of these settings on this tester gives me a different resistance value, so I could do 101K. I could do 111K. I think you get the idea. Just like that, we can make everything 1s. Let's make everything 3s. Kind of close. This thing may not be dead right on, but you get the idea. Everything seems to be working pretty good. If we go all the way up to 900K, there you go, 0.9 meg, which is pretty good. Let's crank this all the way up and see if we can get the meg. So there we go. It's in and out of it. But overall, that is a pretty accurate reading, not knowing the status of any of these resistors in this tester. So let's unplug this meter and plug in this meter. Let's see if we have a similar reading. Right there you go. So it's going right on that 1 meg. It's teetering on it just like this one was. So I think our resistance test is pretty good. What else can we get into here? I don't think I have a capacitor tester. Okay, so we got something to play around with here. I found this old capacitor substitution box, which is also good for testing your meters. And we've got it set to basically 2.2 nanofarads, and our meter's reading 2.4. Now let's go over to our other meter with these leads. And it does not have the resolution of the Fluke 83, so it's just saying 2. This one is saying 3. So we've got the 3.3 there. Let's go up. We should be about 4.7, 4.9, 6.8. We just changed scales. Should be, yep, 0.1. Let's change that over and see if that agrees over here. Okay. 1.5. Pretty close. This should be a 33. Now let's see if this agrees. I think we're pretty close here. 0.33. Let's take it up to 0.1. Pretty close. 0.93. Let's take this one over. 0.96. And all the way up. 2.4. It should be 22, but pretty close. Let's see what we get. Pretty much the same reading. So, we tested a few of the parts of the circuits in the Fluke 83 here. Seems like it's working. I do not have a diode readily available to test, so we'll leave that for another day. As same with the current circuit. I'm working on ways that we can test that on these meters as well, but we're not there yet. But so far, it looks like we got ourselves a pretty good meter with this Fluke 83. Pretty exciting. I never had a Fluke 83 or played with one before, and this is the older format of the Flukes, which I also never had one of before. So that's pretty cool. I like playing around with old meters, and that fits me pretty well. So hopefully this was interesting. We got lucky, rolled the dice on it, and saw, hey, the owner selling it said it didn't work. They offered a really cheap price. We got lucky. It took a battery. I guess they didn't know how to get it apart. I don't know. But we got a good meter that just needed a battery. So that's always a win every day. It just goes to show, if people say it's bad, don't always trust their abilities to troubleshoot things. Sometimes it's worth the gamble to get it, if you can get it cheap, and see if you can fix it. In this case, we got ourselves a really sweet Fluke 83. Okay, so now that we got our Fluke 83 working, let's put a little bit more into it to make it just a little bit nicer. So I got a few things in mind here. Since we know the previous owner did some welding with these old leads, picked up some new leads, and I personally really like a magnet holder for my meters, so we picked up a magnet strap and the more modern case to adapt it to that, and I'm curious to see if that'll work. It should. So let's get these old leads out of the way. We'll still use them for something, but not the best thing to have leads that have been welded with. So to get these out, the best way is to walk the top of the meter out like this, and we can compare. Looks like it should work. Here's our old one, here's our new one, and we should just be able to put this down inside here and flop that down inside just like that. So our new case looks like it should work. Now let's get our strap out. Okay, now truth be told, this is a cheaper Chinesium style strap, which I'm okay with. Comes backwards. So what you want to do is get your hanger, let's put it the right way, get your hanger through and get your strap through and just get it set like that, and now the rest of it will handle itself. You have your magnet, you have your strap, and your connector. You can see the D shape just pushes in like that, and now you've converted your meter into a hanging style meter just like that. Let's get these leads out and see how these look. Okay, while not the cheapest, I really do believe in the buy once, cry once theory in some things, and meter leads is one of those. You want to have good meter leads that are good, flexible, and functional, that you know you can trust. So let's get these plugged in. And these are nice leads because if you remember, the old style leads always had those either little caps that you could push on or something like that in order to get your category 4 rating for 600 volts or your category 3 for 1000 volts. These are designed that you can easily convert to sport mode by just twisting them, and that gets you your category 2 to 1000 volts. So, nice feature. This old Fluke 83 is old enough that I don't believe it even mentions a category rating on here, and that's okay. We're not taking this on an industrial site where the meters need to be labeled. We'll be using this for troubleshooting around here. Okay, so what would the point of fixing this thing up and getting it to be functional be without having a nice new case for it? So let's get our leads put away here. Leads put away, we'll fold these up, and then we'll just do the light wrap so we don't hurt the new leads. And to go into a nice case, we got probably a genuine imitation Fluke leather case, pleather, and we're gonna stick this right in here like that, zip it up, and there we have it. Gambled on this meter. We didn't know if it was gonna work, but now we have a nice case for it, help protect it. We got some nice leads that don't have welding marks on them. We've tested this meter, generally speaking, and if we really had important things that we were going to be doing with it, we could send her out and get her certified. We've upgraded it with the magnet holder, which is a big thing for me. I use that a lot. It's one of those things when you don't have it, you don't realize how much you use it. And that's, hey, this is a great outcome for this meter. Didn't spend a ton of money on it. It was actually just a set of batteries. We got really lucky there to get it working. And we could have rocked with it the way it was, but I figured why not? Let's go the extra mile, get some good leads for it, get a nice case to help protect it now that we've got it fixed up. So, hope this was interesting. I really enjoy trying to either fix or get stuff working. This was kind of just a really lucky one that it just needed a battery. It was kind of like our Megger that we got. I guess sometimes people selling stuff just don't know what they have, so, and they don't know to try a battery to see if it works. That's okay, but the thing is, you always want to look into this stuff to see. Sometimes it's worth rolling the dice on it. There's also fuses in this, and that could have been something that was blown and what have you. The more you learn about how things work, the easier it can be. But generally speaking, this thing wasn't heavily beat. It didn't look like it was really through it. The old leads, while they're a little dirty, they're not all bent. They're slightly bent. This one has the weld mark and is a little bent, so it didn't seem like this thing was really used hard. I didn't know about the weld mark until I saw it in person either. So it doesn't look like, from what I saw, it was really beat up. A lot of times this stuff gets really dirty and everything. It actually still had the protective strip on it, and none of this stuff was really dirty and messed up. So I thought, you know what, let's roll the dice, see if we can fix it up. And we got lucky. That's the exciting thing with trying to fix old tools. You get really functional gear at a low price if you're willing to put the time into it and try and fix it. So hopefully this was interesting. If you have a Fluke 83 or fond memories of using a Fluke 83, let me know in the comments below. I find that stuff very interesting. If you had an instance like we had here where you got a really good deal on something because the battery was dead, or something simple was easy to fix and you got it working, let me know in the comments below. I love those stories. They're great to hear. So as always, thanks for watching and have a great day. Okay, if you made it this far in the video, thanks for watching. Here's a little bit of bonus round footage. In this case here, the actual pleather Fluke case, not the knockoff like this one here, is my old Fluke 87 that I bought many, many years ago. And when I was buying leads for the Fluke 83, I thought, why not treat my old trusty Fluke 87 to a new set of leads? So here we go. Nothing really wrong with the leads on my Fluke 87 here, but you can see they're the same sort of vintage as the ones for the Fluke 83. But we got the nice new super silicone-y ones to use with my old trusty Fluke 87. So here we go. Nice new leads on the Fluke 87. Here were the new stablemate, the Fluke 83. Just a little extra bonus round footage for you. A little comparison between the two cases. The knockoff case is not quite as nice as the old school ones, but that's to be expected. As always, thanks for watching, and have a great day.